Welcome to Soulfire Wisdom with Kate Olson. As an evolving spirit and change adventure navigator, it is Kate's mission to empower and guide you on your path and inspire your truest passions. She will encourage you to share your gifts, speak your truth, and ignite your inner wisdom and purpose. She hopes to do so with a little humor and grace and her own soulfire passion. Kate talks with amazing guests who have embraced the pursuit and are fanning the flames of their own passion, purpose, and soulfire wisdom. Now here's your host, Kate.
Good afternoon. So I'm talking to you from snowy Seattle. We have about, I think, six inches of snow here. And in Seattle, when we have that much snow, most people feel like they're kind of being held hostage. So we're kind of wimps about the snow, and we don't drive well in it. So I'm feeling a little bit that way today. I'm feeling a little bit like I'm a hostage because the snow isn't supposed to go away till Thursday or Friday. But other than that, it is beautiful. So if this is your first time tuning in, I'm a life coach, an NLP practitioner, a hypnotherapist, and a Reiki master. And I like to call myself a change adventure navigator. And I love guiding people through obstacles and adversity to find their path, purpose, and peace. And along the way, hopefully a little bit of soulfire wisdom. So this is Tuesday, and I since last week was our first show, I had a little trouble kind of deciding what to call Tuesdays, because I've done Mindful Mondays and Thankful Thoughtful Thursdays, but Tuesday was a little bit difficult. But I came up with totally awesome, try something new and talk about it Tuesdays. And so this week, what I tried is I tried kind of wellness sleeping potion that is made with turmeric. And turmeric is a really great anti-inflammatory. And I love hot chocolate, so I improvised a little bit and made a hot chocolate turmeric drink and tried that for the week instead of things like melatonin don't really work very well for me. So I wanted to see if this worked better. And it's made with pure cocoa, unsweetened, ground turmeric, coconut oil, and black pepper. Both of those things are added just so that it's better absorbed in your system. And you can add either cinnamon or a pinch of cayenne pepper, and I added cinnamon. And then you can sweeten it with pure honey, maple syrup, stevia, anything. You could use sugar as well, but if you want to have a healthier option, you can use one of those things. And you can use regular milk, or you can use milk alternatives like coconut or almond or oat milk. And I used coconut milk. And you make it pretty much like hot chocolate. And I don't think I've used it long enough to totally see if it works as far as the reducing inflammation. but it was really helpful as a sleep aid. So I thought it was great. So we have a great show planned for today. My guest is Annie Meehan, and she's an author, speaker, and life coach from Minneapolis, Minnesota. So I don't think she totally understood, the what I was saying about the snow, because they get quite a bit of it back there. Anyway, she started out her career in the corporate world, but now she's a powerful motivational speaker. And she was telling me she does 80 speaking engagements per year. She uses both her personal and professional expertise to inspire her audiences with dynamic presentations. She's journeyed through life as the middle child of 7. So she has lots of those stories to tell, both about her family life and being a single mom. She's been a guest on Oprah, Twin Cities Live, and after working at Piper Jaffray, she became a contract speaker for one of the top nonprofit companies in the U.S. Today, she speaks nationally and internationally. She is the author of motivational books as well. One of her recent books is Be the Exception, and she has an inspirational journal, Path, Detours, and Possibilities. And when she's not delivering upbeat, motivating talks for audiences across the country, she and her husband are raising 3 children. They own and operate their own Snap Fitness Center, and they have a support team they support a team of 100 plus AdvoCare distributors. And, with all that, she still has some time for volunteering. So I don't know how she does it, but I'm going to introduce her now and we'll find out. Hi, Annie.
Hey, Kate. Nice to see you. I love your Tuesday theme. I like your theme weeks. And I was thinking about, as you were describing it, I love a terrific Tuesday, but I also love tricky Tuesday. I know you've already tried something new. I love that. But I was thinking some days during the week, it's a little tricky, especially for business owners. Life can be tricky. So I love that you have a theme every day. That was really neat.
Okay. Well, thank you. I didn't think of either of those that you mentioned. All I could think of was Taco Tuesday and Tequila Tuesday, and I didn't think either of those worked. So, but anyway, we have some questions for you. Could you tell us a little bit more about what led you to your current path? How did you get into being a speaker?
Yeah, I love to teach people the unfolding of a speaking career, because you kind of have a vision of where you think it's going to go. And then one of my friends says, you know what, you pick a topic, but then a topic picks you. But my background, I started as a speaker in the faith community. Then it turned to health and wellness because of owning gyms for 12 years and having clients want me to teach them about that. I have a real passion for mental and emotional health, though I also care about physical health, and I think they're so tightly connected. I love helping people live their best life, and so I never saw myself as a writer, but the more I spoke, the more people said, can you write a book? The more people said, will you write another book? And now I have 5 books. And then it was like, can you write a workbook to teach us how to use what you wrote? So I wrote 3 workbooks. I have an online course, and I became a certified coach as well, because when I would get done speaking to audiences, people would want to meet with me. And initially it was like, can we have coffee? Can we meet for lunch? But really what they wanted was a coach. They wanted an accountability partner. They wanted support. They wanted someone to talk about their transition in life. So my speaking is my primary work, But when you are a speaker, you're so influential and you're so in the public eye that people are then drawn to want more from you, whether it was a book or an online course or group or individual coaching or consulting. And so it really just started with the desire to help people live a better life, whether that meant healthier or happier, whether it meant climbing the corporate ladder, getting in healthier relationships. And I love my work. I mean, it's so rewarding to me. So I have quite a span of different audiences, and people will say, well, who's your audience? Well, sometimes it's healthcare, and other times it's financial, and other times it's social service or education or corporations. One of my very rewarding events was the first time I did a full day training, and Comcast executive team brought me in to train 8 of their managers who each managed anywhere from 200 to 600 people. And they said, can you give us some tools in our toolbox so when we're leading, influencing, and managing, we have some different ways of looking at things. So I love helping people shift their perspective, recognizing we're always at choice. We don't get to choose what happens, but we always get to choose how we respond. I find a lot of people live by chance or by circumstance rather than by choice. No matter what's happening, no matter what didn't happen or did, how do we still make positive choices?
Yes, that's important.
Yeah.
So why was it important for you to share your principles of success, especially relating to resilience in your book, Be the Exception?
Yeah. Like you said, I am the middle of 7 kids, raised by a single mom, and we had a lot of addiction and mental health issues in our home. And when I was writing a book for about 20 years called Dumpster to Dynasty, and a publisher heard me speak, and she said, Annie, will you teach us, don't write a memoir, don't tell us about where you came from, tell us about how you became. And that book, Be the Exception, was about what if, no matter what you walk through, Kate, I mean, people walk through a lot of heavy stuff, sometimes from childhood wounds, sometimes from adults, challenges, being fired, being diagnosed, somebody dies, they go through a divorce. People go through these challenges. And what happens is sometimes people forget their power in those challenges, and they get stuck and they start acting out of something negative rather than, wait a minute, this happened. I didn't want to get fired. But what if there's something better? I didn't want this relationship to end, but it did. What do I do with that? And so for me, I really wanted to be able to show and teach people how to take their challenges and use them as fuel. So people ask me, how did you come out of this and you're happy and you're positive and you're generous? You could be bitter, you could be negative, you could be stuck in a cycle of addiction or depression. How did you do that? And so creating tools. So my Be the Exception book at the end of every chapter has a tool for people to take their own story and apply my tool, whatever that story is. It could be totally different than my story, but the tool works the same, whatever their circumstance.
Great. I love that.
Yeah.
So the cover of your book has a butterfly, a symbol of metamorphosis.
Yeah.
What's the story behind that?
Well, I would love to just take a moment and just show you quickly each of the books so you can kind of have a visual of what I did. So this was my first book, and it's an inspirational journal. It's called Past Detours and Possibilities. And I put a path on there because I think we're all on a path, but things happen in life, sometimes by choice, sometimes by chance, that detour us. This book, Be the Exception, which won the National Award and is my most known book.
Move it a little bit that way. Okay.
Okay, there. Be the Exception. This one, I was working with a general hybrid publisher, and they had created a couple designs, but none spoke to me. And I emailed a girlfriend and said, are these me? And she said, no, Annie. And she said, I got to go to dinner. I'll call you later. And an hour later, she sent me this cover. Her name's Teresa French. I give her so much credit because she went to dinner with her husband, and she said, Annie, you're a butterfly. You've come out of the difficult stuff, and you're bright and colorful. You love to wear color and energy. And so the orange butterfly in that cover, she designed as a gift to me. She really felt like God downloaded it for her. She's like, I didn't really think of it. It just came to me that you're blue and orange and you're this bright butterfly. The next book that came out after that is this one. And this is because sometimes I speak at churches and they ask me, why isn't this book Christian? And I said, because all people deserve love, hope, healing, and forgiveness. And so this is the Bible study. It takes those 7 steps and says, what does God say about them? So it's meant to be a companion guide. And then this one, a company came to me and they said, we love how you teach about gratitude. Will you make an exceptional gratitude journal? And how I teach differently about that is that gratitude is good. Every day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. Every morning, read them. End positive, start positive. but that's all about you. It's about what you got out of life, and that's good, but I don't want people to live good. I want you to live great. So I ask you, write down what you've gotten. That's good. But then write down what you gave away. A smile, an encouraging word, let someone in on the freeway. And then you go from a good life to a great life when you start being generous. And then this year, I don't know if you can see this one because of the reflection, but this year a book came out because I talk about pineapples and how we should all be pineapples. So this is just a teeny little gift book, and it's called The Pineapple Principle. And the butterfly was so much my symbol. And what I found the more I spoke is it's many people's symbols. People have butterfly shirts and necklaces and tattoos. And the butterfly is a beautiful symbol of transformation and of spreading our wings and going out into the world. But I thought I have transformed my life of where I came from to where I am. But then I changed my symbol, my brand, to unicorn. I was like, I want to be different than everyone else. I don't want to be like everyone else. So I got a unicorn onesie, and I start wearing unicorns. And then I met a girlfriend, and we both have, I'm a birth mom, which means I've had a daughter that I wasn't able to raise, and I placed for adoption. And she was placed for adoption, and she really felt like a unicorn in this world. And we call birth moms unicorns. And so that served me for a little while, that uniqueness. But ultimately what my brand is today is I love the pineapple. I mean, I love the butterfly. I love the unicorn. But my brand today is pineapple. And the reason why is because pineapples stand up straight and they see people. And in a world of distraction, and looking ahead and looking down at our phones and looking down in insecurity, I want people to stand up straight and be pineapples. I want people to value themselves and other people. And so my symbols have transformed. I still love the butterfly. I have a lot of butterfly necklaces and stickers that I'll pass out at different events. I love helping people find their wings, find their voice, and expanding. But today more the pineapple resonates with me than the butterfly, even though I love it. I think it was a perfect fit for Be the Exception and for that season in my life where I was really showing where I came from to what I have become.
Great.
Yeah.
So you have 7 steps of transformation in your book that is a series of choices.
Yeah.
How did you develop and identify those particular steps?
Great question. So for 20 years, I was writing a book called Dumpster to Dynasty, and then that publisher helped me saying, Annie, don't write that. Teach us what your steps were. And I don't even like them to be steps. I really wish I would say your 7 ways of being, because I don't want to invite people to do more. Our plates are pretty full, but I want you to be more. And so the first one is be honest. And people say to me, I don't lie, Annie. And I say, you know what? I know you don't lie, but what happens is we all tell stories. We tell stories of, I'll never get the great relationship. I'll never get the promotion. I never will save money. I can't lose weight. I can't be healthy. I can't have joy in my life. But what happens with stories is if we repeat them enough, they do become our truth. And for me, growing up in a dysfunctional family, there was a lot of stories that became my truth that didn't serve me and weren't actually the truth. So the first one is be honest. And that's about, how do we rewrite those stories that no longer serve us? What if I have dyslexia, I struggle with spelling, but I am smart and capable still? What if part of that story is true, but it's not all true? So that was the first step, was be honest, was about rewriting the stories. And the next, so there are more ways of being. The next one is be open, and it's really about mentorship. It's about looking back over our life and asking ourselves, who has mentored us? Who's encouraged us? Who's been a light in our dark places? And it's about not only who has done that for us, but then again, I always turn it around, who can we do that for? And who are we doing that for? And paying attention that sometimes mentors are 3-year-olds or teenagers or seniors. They're not always an age thing, right? And the next one is be healthy. And that was so important to me because I think health is so much more than physical. It's emotional, mental, financial, relationship health, spiritual health. And so I think health is confusing for people. So I try to break it down into what's something little you can do toward moving toward that healthiness. Be flexible. I had to learn to look back at my life and say, I moved 83 times by the time I was 18. People are like, oh, did you hate that? Well, as a girl, I did. But when I look back, I think, oh my gosh, it taught me to navigate. It taught me to make new friends. It taught me to explore new places. It took away the fear from change. I know how to deal with change. In fact, I'm more comfortable with change than stability. Be gentle. We all have something in our life, or at least most of us, that we could judge about ourselves. An unplanned pregnancy, not finishing our college degree, going through a divorce, getting fired, whatever it is. And so I had to invite people, how do you be gentle? What does it look like to say, that's just part of my story? It doesn't define me. Be courageous. I love to do things for causes. I've done the AIDS ride and the MS ride and the 3-day for breast cancer and the heart disease. Well, I love to encourage people, do something cool and brave and set a big goal, but do it for something beyond yourself. Do it to make a more big impact in the world. And the last one is be authentic, because I think that we compare ourselves so much to others, and we start to want to be like others. And sometimes we even want to be anyone but ourselves. But when you decide to like yourself and visualize the life you want, and you speak in I am statements prior to it happening, you start to step into becoming. And I think you said something, Kate, early on in your intro, like you step into being who you are, bringing your wisdom, bringing all of you. Like, I might not be perfect, but there's some really cool stuff in me that the world needs to see. And if we're all authentically ourselves, the world's a safer place to be vulnerable and to accept our messy parts. And so it was really about 7 ways of being, to show up and to start to like yourself, and to see your value, so you can be enough without trying to be like someone else or accomplish what others expect.
Yes. Wouldn't it be wonderful if everybody knew all that from the beginning?
Yes, it would be wonderful.
So why do you consider keeping yourself healthy your number one concern, or number one?
Yeah.
endeavor?
My mom's 91. She's still alive. I have a relationship with her, but her self-neglect was so damaging to her children. And so I always think about, be healthy, period. Whatever that means. Doesn't mean it's easy, but be healthy. And if you can't do it for yourself, do it because of the people that you love deserve to have a healthy human in their life, whether it's a best friend or a spouse or children. And so if I do not take care of myself, if I do not get enough sleep, if I do not drink enough water, if I do not move my body in joy, if I do not do those things, I'm serving people from an empty place. And really, it's like stealing. Like when I work with nurses, I always say, it's not selfish to take care of yourself. It's self-full. And when we're full, we can pour better, right? We can pour from empty, but it will leave us bitter and cranky. And so if I don't take care of myself, I cannot go out and do the good work that I feel very called to do, whether that is speak or teach or coach or consult or write. I'm not bringing my best. And so I have to take care of myself first so I can take care of my clients.
Very true.
Yeah.
You have a story in your life that comes from a broken place. What was the most important lesson that you learned from that experience?
I honestly really feel like the most important thing, Kate, was that first chapter of my book was to be honest, because I had so many negative recordings and hopeless stories and reasons to be bitter and reasons to, I have one sibling that says, I don't know why you're nice to people. Nobody was nice to us. Why are you nice to people? Why are you helpful? And the truth is, I don't have to be. You don't have to be. Nobody has to be. And some people act out of why me, and life wasn't fair, and why should I care about anyone else? Nobody cared about me. And there's a truth in that story, but it doesn't serve me. Like, being happy brings me as much joy as I get to give away. And so that be honest has really been such a powerful thing for me to learn and to teach others. Because if we live out of a negative story, if we live out of a hopeless story, then we will show up negative and hopeless. But when we decide to rewrite that story and say, life did not play out the way I desired or how a child should be raised, but it doesn't matter. That was then and this is now. And every day I get to get up and love my life and love my kids and create this incredible family with my husband and this incredible business that brings me all over the world to inspire people to get unstuck from their stories. Like, people will say, Annie, you teach us how to eliminate excuses, because you have a lot of excuses, but you have made a choice to live this extraordinary life. And that's what I love. I love helping people get unstuck, rewrite those stories, and live by choice and find joy, even in the challenges, right? In the hard stuff. Find the
Yes.
joy.
And you realize that story is what, gave you the strength and abilities that you're taking forward into the beautiful life.
Yes, exactly.
You wrote a quote in your book, live each day by choice, and I think you just were talking about that. What is the meaning behind that quote. And I broke in the middle of that. Your quote is, live each day by choice, not by chance or circumstance.
Yeah. A lot of people have stories, right? And so people will come to me and they'll say, if there was a God, then I wouldn't have been abused. My mother wouldn't have died. My sister wouldn't have died. This wouldn't have happened to me. This tragedy, that tragedy. You know, there wouldn't have been a car accident. There wouldn't have been a murder. But what I know, one of my favorite Ziggy cartoons is, I don't know if you remember Ziggy, but it's been a long time. He looked up and said, why me? And God looked down and said, why not? And I like it because it reminds us that we're all going to have challenges, right? And so I like to remind people, live by choice, because people will say, well, you don't know what my boss did. And I'll say, I'm so sorry your boss did that. You still have a choice. Well, you don't know what my ex did. Well, you don't know what I've been through. I don't. And I'm not trying to qualify your story, but I will tell you still have a choice. And people, I always think about, you have a choice to be better or bitter. And both are hard. Both are work. But let me tell you, the reward on the other side of better is so much better than sticking to that bitter, right? And I meet people with pain and with wounds, and they are hanging on to their tragedy instead of being like free. And I'm not saying don't grieve. I've also met many people who have buried their children, and I don't think anyone should tell you how long you get to grieve, because you can grieve the rest of your life if you need to. But that still doesn't mean you need to hang on to bitter. You can be sad and still be hopeful. You can be sad and still be kind. You can be hurt and still be helpful. And so for me, it's like, it's always a choice every single day. You know, whatever happens outside, whatever happens in the world, I get to decide. And I also make choices like, I don't watch the news. I don't hang out with negative people. I don't listen to profanity. I make a lot of choices to protect my mind, my eyes, and my thoughts, so that I can remain positive, so that I can remain hopeful, because you can go down a rabbit hole of negativity and it can just steal what feels like a choice. So I like to invite people, make a choice about everything you do, what you listen to, who you're with, what you put in your body, who you're around, because in that choice will come more joy, will come more hope, you know? Listen to the positive, be around positive people.
Yes. So your second book, the Pineapple Principle that you mentioned and showed us, is based on a poem.
Yes.
Can you share that poem and tell us why you decided to write that book?
Yeah. So the Pineapple Principle is based on a poem. So about 3 years ago now, I guess, a girlfriend of mine was visiting. I live in Minneapolis, and she was visiting from Chicago. And my brand colors are blue and orange. And she said, you got to get over to this store. There's a skirt you need. I said, all right. I drove over, and it was a bright orange skirt, which made sense, but it was covered with pineapples. And so I said, I get the orange, but why the pineapples? And she said, oh, you're such a pineapple. I said, I'm a pineapple? She goes, oh, yeah, you're a pineapple. Well, she's a preschool teacher. And what she said is, don't you know the pineapple poem? I said, no. And it goes like this: be a pineapple, stand up straight, wear a crown, and be sweet on the inside. And it'd be a pineapple. And I thought, well, that's cute. But what I know, Kate, is that we all have a story behind our story. We might say, hi, how are you? I'm doing great. Are you doing great? And we stay on that superficial level. But we all have a story. We all have hopes and dreams and hurts and wonders. And so I asked myself, what does that poem have to teach us? And as I explored through, what did the poem mean? What I realized is the poem is about, if we think about standing up straight, we look people in the eye and we truly see people. If we're looking down or distracted, looking ahead, we miss out on what's in front of us. And when we see people and speak their names, they feel very honored and cared about. And I met a woman in a bathroom, and I write about that story, about how she was 36 years old, and we went back and forth kind of throughout the day. I was speaking at a conference, and she ended up crying and saying, you know, I'm 36 years old and no woman's ever looked at me and seen me without judgment. And so I remind people, just standing up and looking at people can be powerful. And if you wear a crown, I tell people, if I get up in the morning and ask myself, what do I want to do? I want to lay in bed and eat 3 cream-filled donuts. That's what I want to do. But when I wear a crown, I value myself, and I don't always do what I want to do. I do what's best for me, and I drink a glass of water, and I get up and go for a walk, or I go to the gym. Because when you see your value, you don't just always do what you like, you do what you're worth. And when you start to value yourself, you treat your body and your mind differently. You view different things. And I met a man that said, you know, I haven't valued myself since the day my wife died. I died with her. But because of how you teach people, it made me want to come back to life after 5 years of being dead, because I value myself, but I value my 2 boys that I've been raising as a dead man. It's not fair. And then I talk about being sweet on the inside, really like in a world where I think words are very powerful. And some people make fun of me, and that's okay with me, but I'm very protective about what I say and what I hear. Because words are powerful and they do impact people's lives. And even when people play off harsh words, they still hear them and their heart feels them. And so I talk about, if we're sweet on the inside, what comes through our mouth and through our keyboard is kindness, encouragement, love, support. We don't repeat the negative. We don't share the stories of gossip or murder or horrific in our world. Instead, we share the goodness and we share light and love. And so that's how I talk about being sweet on the inside. And then people say to me, but Annie, pineapples are prickly sometimes. And I remind us all, we're all prickly sometimes, but we still have that sweetness within us. So again, about choice, we get to decide, will we be prickly today or will we be kind and encouraging? So this book came out, I call it a simple symbol with a significant message, is because in January of 2019, a girlfriend called me and she said, people love that book and they keep asking you which book these stories are in, and it wasn't in one. She said, write the pineapple principle. Teach us how to be a pineapple like you. And so my vision is that 1 million copies of this book will spread around the world and end up in Christmas stockings and graduation gifts. And a woman just bought them to give to all her clients, a financial advisor. Another woman that works with supplements said she's buying them for her whole team. And they just said it's such a great little encouraging gift and great symbol to remind us that we do have a choice on how we show up every day. So that's the pineapple principle.
Yes, and I like that you have symbols for everything, because I think we remember those, and then the little anecdotes like the Ziggy story. Well, him saying, why me? You can turn it around too, like our Seahawks, our quarterback, what he always said about being a quarterback was, why not me? You know, and
I like that. Yeah,
yes,
why not? Yeah,
yes,
that's very
why
good.
not me?
That's
Why
right.
can't I have all the good things or
That's right.
do all the good things?
I like that. And I do pick symbols because I'm a visual learner. I'm not an auditory learner. So I love the butterfly. I love the pineapple. I need visuals. And so I love to show my audience, here's a picture of what it looks like. When I teach about wellness, I talk about a walking stick and having support through life. Like, we all have different things, but symbols help us remember. So
Definitely. So the first part of the poem talks about standing up straight, and you just explained what that means.
yeah.
How does that relate to our current climate, like all the social media and everything?
Yeah. I try to encourage people, put your phone away. I try to encourage people, have your set times, because if you watch what's happening, people have headphones in. Like I love to write. I write a choose letter because I think life is about choices twice a month. And I wrote talk to me in one. Like I fly a lot. So I was at the airport one day and like everybody around me had headphones in and were looking down at their phone. And I was like, it's like we're all invisible. We're so distracted with our headphones and looking down that we've lost sight of paying attention. And so I think that standing up straight is about unplugging and paying attention to people. And really what's happened, which has been kind of cool to watch, is that when I speak to different clients, maybe a whole team from one office will say, hey, let's all put our phones down, or let's take our headphones out. And oh my gosh, I never realized we don't even look at each other anymore. And when Annie showed us, it was like, whoa, I don't know what color your eyes are, even though we sit across from each other. And so, so it's like a challenge that I like to give my audiences is, can you set your phone aside? Can you take your headphones out, more hours than in, and can you look at each other? So,
yes. So in both your books, The Pineapple Principle and Be the Exception, you talked about wearing a crown.
Yeah.
And so how does that relate to both books?
I think more than anything, it's like deciding you're worth it. Like, a lot of people don't feel valued, don't value themselves, don't think they're enough, no matter how much they do, never feel like they measure up or they're good enough. And I think when you visualize a crown on your head, you see your worth. You see you are valuable. You see you are enough. And when we value ourselves, we talk differently about ourselves to other people and in our own head, those repeated stories, we start to shift them to, what if I am good enough? And like you said about Seattle quarterback, why not me? You know, why can't I have a good life? Why can't I have good relationships? Why can't I get that promotion or save money and buy my dream house or get healthy? Why not me? And so I think you have to first value yourself to start to believe that. And when people have a low self-esteem or a lot of self-doubt or a lot of negative tapes, they don't see their crown. You know,
Yeah.
they start to forget their value and they treat themselves very self-depleting. So, yeah.
And I think when you value yourself, you also value other people
Yes.
more. So,
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah.
so what is the single most important piece of advice you would give to someone who's struggling with life challenges?
I would say don't wait. Get help. Get a book. Get a personal development book. Might Be the Exception's fabulous, but there's other great books out there. I have over 200 videos on YouTube. Listen to some good TED Talks. Listen to some good videos. First of all, don't believe you're alone. You're not alone. Everybody's walking through some sort of struggle. So and the more we isolate and the more we think about ourselves, we get consumed and we start to give up and feel defeated. So don't isolate. Feed your body and your brain with some good stuff. Watch some encouraging TED Talks, some encouraging YouTube videos, read some good books. I mean, people feel alone and overwhelmed. They need good tools. And that's why I'm like, get the material you need to get the help. Go get a counselor if you need one. Go to a support group. Surround yourself with positive people. Eliminate toxic people from your life. Turn off the negativity, whether it's online and you're sucked into social media, or it's TV, or it's the news, or whatever it is. Look to surround yourself with positive people and positive messages. Get enough sleep. Drink plenty of water. Like, you have to take care of yourself, especially when we're walking through a trauma or a transition or something heavy. We don't isolate. Get around some positive people and get the help you need. There's nothing wrong with getting some self-help books, watching some videos. I think people try to gut it out and then they feel even more alone and overwhelmed. So don't do that. Get the help that you need. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So we're almost out of time. If you could leave the listeners with one takeaway from today's show, what would you want that to be?
I love to show people that they are the exception, that each one of us have the ability to be the exception. It's not me, it's you. It's anyone listening. It's anyone wondering. You can be the exception. If some part of your story does not serve you, rewrite it. If some part of your past is still pulling you back, move forward, get the help you need, and become the exception that you were created to be. That's what I want.
Yes, definitely. Be the hero of your own life.
That's right. Exactly.
So, well, thank you. That's great. Everything that you said is really, I can see why you're such an inspiring speaker.
Thank you, Kate.
So, and I know that people got something out of this today.
Wonderful.
So thank you and have a really good evening.
Thank you.
And I want to thank the audience for listening today. And if you're here in Seattle, the snow always does melt. So, so if you're feeling like me, a little bit like a hostage, you know, just hang in there and it'll be gone soon. So I want to leave you with one thought to carry through your week, and that is, you must expect great things of yourself before you can do them. And that was said by Michael Jordan. So have a great week, and tune in next week. We have another great show planned that is Facing the Truth with Merle Yost. And one of the truths that he's going to be talking about is one it's a kind of a difficult subject, but it's one we need to have more awareness around, and that is male the difference in what abuse is, sexual abuse is for male victims. Society hasn't really, they're probably a group that has been left out a little bit. And so we're going to be talking to him about what we can do about this, really, what we can do to bring more awareness to this topic and deal with it a little bit better. He's a psychotherapist, and this has become, one of his projects, is bringing more awareness to sexual abuse in children, male children specifically. So tune in for that at 3 p.m. next Tuesday. And in the meantime, have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Soul Fire Wisdom with Kate Olson. We hope you enjoyed the show. If we made you laugh, brightened your day, or sparked a new thought, we have succeeded in our mission. Join us next time when we'll share more secrets and truths and all the magic of transformation that is the journey to Soul Fire Wisdom. Always remember, be fierce in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire.